Hello everybody, today I would like to talk about a very niche subject. This subject is mental practice for any instrument, and it implies that you can improve your music without actually using an instrument. And it's something that is really meaningful for me because I have been practicing for long years now, and I feel that I am practicing quite wrong. And so the more I practice, the more I accumulate tension. So I subconsciously found a way to just practice but without actually hurting my hands and accumulating tension. And this is mental practicing, which I think a good musician don't really need if he's a good technician. But I think if you have troubles with the technique and the muscles, this could really save you. Why do I say it works? And how can you actually make the music better at your instrument without touching your instrument? Well, it's because everything you do at your instrument starts in your mind and then is executed as the instrument, very simply. So what we're going to do during mental practice is reinforce the commands of the arms. And after you reinforce the commands, you can really practice much more easily because you know what to do with your hands. You don't want to find out what to do with your hands, you just know what to do. And so the first step of mental practicing is to create a frame. So you will find that when you practice in your head, you're just not only listening to the sounds and trying to recreate the sounds that you want or the tempo or the melodies. No, you're actually aiming to reproduce the feelings that you need to feel, the sensations that you need to have in your hands in order to play quickly and tension-free. So mental practice is about creating and summoning the feelings that you want to have. Maybe the emotion, but like anything required at the instrument, you have to build it first in your mind. And the frame is, in this context, the keyboard. So you kind of need to visualize a physical keyboard in your mind. You don't have to see it like clearly and vividly, but you know, if I tell you, think about a blue apple, you will not see a blue apple like vividly like you see my hand, but you will kind of get the image of a blue apple. And this is what you should train, but for an actual keyboard with 2 black keys, 3 black keys, and then exact amount of white keys. You kind of need to train this. It's not so hard. And then you should add to it another layer of distance. So when you sit at your keyboard, you can actually feel that between the first C and the fifth C, there's this much distance, probably like 50 centimeters, and you can feel the feeling of having to jump from here to there. You should be able to recreate this feeling as well in your mind, in your mental scenery. Once you do this, you can actually even add more steps. You can make the keyboard very three-dimensional, and you could be just looking at it from above or from under, and you can just have like Minecraft creative mode. You can roam around the keyboard and the piano while having a sense of distance between the keys, right? So this is the first step to create the frame, because this will be the basis of what we're gonna do. Now, the second step for mental practice is as follows. Before you hit a key, you have the wish to hit a key. So let's say I want to hit these chords right here on the piano. My hands already know the location of the chords. And so my hands will memorize over time the location of the chords, and my hand will just repeat it over and over and over again. But what happens is when your hand repeats it so much, it will memorize it, and it will take away the job of finding the keys from the brain. So your hands will actually just be going to grab the keys without you intentionally going for them. And this is very dangerous because music is about intention. The more you intend a note, the more you are aware of which note you are hitting, the more you're aware about the relations between all the notes. Like here we have a 4-note chord. If your hand just grabs it without knowing that it's actually a D major dominant 7th, with two thirds stacked upon each other with a chord difference, and like these relations, if you're not like actually consciously aware of them, the sound will not be so accurate and it will not be meaned, it will not be given to the public with a reason. You're not showing the public the chord, you're just recreating it. And we want to intend it to have meaning. So the second step would be to reinforce your wishes and desires for the notes. You just have to go through the piece. Let's take this example again. These chords right here. What you want to do is locate the keys consciously on the frame, on the mental keyboard and imagery that you have. You have to locate the keys, and after you do locate them, you have to absorb their smoke, absorb their atmosphere, and know and save the feeling of how it feels like to have these chords, this chord, and why you want to play these four notes. And then you just repeat them, you look at it, you consciously look at the four keys. You can change angle, you can go above the keyboard in your mind or at the side, and you can also, as you should also feel the distance between every one of these four notes in the chord. Well, after you do this, you kind of need to do this for the whole piece, and if you do it, it's very energy consuming, but if you do it, it's like really gonna improve your whole practice. You're just gonna play with so much meaning. If you do this and then you go to the keyboard, you're gonna be like, yeah, I already rehearsed this in my mind. I want to play this chord. I have reason to play this chord. It's because I already saw it in my mind and now I wanna play it. Not just because your hand memorized it. So your hand will have a purpose, and you are training the purpose and the command of the hands. So the second step we can say is intend and reinforce wishes. Now for the third step of the system. It's the one that involving technique. We know that technique is very hard because the muscles need to adapt to the keyboard. However, it could be quite complicated because the keyboard is very unnatural and not suited for our human biological hand. So it can be complex, and then you create tension while trying to hit the right notes, and then it's uncomfortable for you. But we already said we want the sensations of playing the instrument in our mind. So what you're going to do is rehearse the correct sensation of hitting the chord. You're going to close your eyes, visualize your mental keyboard, and then try to imagine how it would feel to play the chord if you were a top pianist with perfect technique. How the chord would feel in your hand. Like just visualize it so hardly so you can actually feel it. And repeat. When you go at the keyboard, it will stay there. And if you do it vividly enough, and if you practice over months and months, you can even potentially and theoretically not even practice physically. Just practice in your mind and it will actually work on the keyboard. I swear it works. So third step, summon physical feelings. Well, this implies, side note, that you can add details to the mental frame keyboard, which means we said we have a mental keyboard that is made out of equally spaced notes, and you can feel the spacing. But now the crazy part is that you can even add another layer to it, and this layer is how the keys go down. You can actually train to have an action function. So you can actually press a key in your mind and you can feel how it's going down, at what speed. And if you are like absolute mental genius, you can even add the dimension to actually make the note sound in your mind. Again, not actually hearing it, but just imagining it. And so the more details you add, the more granular and detailed the key descent is to give you the proper sound that you want, the more you can imagine how it feels, because your hand is all the time you have your hand with you, so you can focus on your hand and try to imagine how it would feel on the keys, right? So yeah, this is kind of a summary of mental practice, which is extremely underrated and unexplored, but I think if you do it, you will benefit a lot. And if it's not so beneficial, well, at least you will learn about how your minds work, how your hands work, how your imagination works, how your vividness works. And it's just overall a crazy good, fulfilling exercise to do. Yeah, I hope, thank you for sticking to till the end if you did. And if you're interested about this, comment something, send me a text, we can talk about that. If you have ideas to share, I'm open. And yeah, thanks and see you.